Hey, Forge fans, Anthony Urciuoli with you. Jessica Lisi is with us as well. And we have a very special guest for this episode, and it's the new commissioner, Mark Noonan from the Canadian Premier League. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, we actually have more in common than you think because I'm the commissioner of my fantasy football league, and I've been waiting all year for someone to be able to relate to what I go through. And it's not an easy gig for me. So I'm trying to put together why you decided to make this jump to Canada and the Canadian Premier League after so much success in the States. You've been in Africa. Why Canada? Why the Canadian Premier League?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks again for having me on. And I don't officially start till Thursday, so maybe you can give me some tips on how to be a good commissioner because I'm sure your league is awesome.
I'm ready
Um,
to quit. I'm ready to quit. So hopefully your experience will go better.
I'm definitely not ready to quit. I'm ready to get started and roll up the sleeves. And what excites me is I feel this incredible excitement about the opportunity uh, combined with this incredible responsibility because people like you, our ownership group, the staff, the players have done such a phenomenal job of starting this league in some of the most incredibly difficult circumstances with the COVID pandemic and everything else. And this combination of assets that have been put together between the league, Canadian soccer business, all the League One assets that have it gives us an opportunity to really take this sport and supercharge it over the next decade or so. And as I looked around the world, I don't think there's a better opportunity in the world of soccer or football than what we have right here.
And what do you think it is? It's, I mean, to be able to start a league from scratch and for it to be as successful it was in the first year, sure, the momentum was slowed a bit with the pandemic, but we're slowly kind of starting to rebuild that fan base and just getting the overall brand out there.
Right.
So, what do you think has worked so well for the league? It's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not easy at all. And if you saw all the work that goes on behind the scenes, with a relatively small staff, I'm sure you see that at the club level, see it at the league level. What makes it go is the passion of the people who are behind it, who are working so hard and are so committed to the cause. And I think everybody sees something bigger than themselves that they're at the beginning of creating something incredibly special and going to be look back in their careers and say, "Hey, I helped build that thing that is now just this juggernaut of Canadian sports," and that's where we're going. All of the ingredients are there to get us there. It's just going to take time, continued passion, continued hard work, a little bit of luck along the way. But as I said in my opening press conference, there are no limits here, and that's what's so exciting.
Well, I have a few questions. I know you're a big marketing guy, so I'm curious in regards to you have York and Hamilton. They're very close in proximity, but they're both very different markets. So in regards to that, do you feel that each team in Canada should have a uniform approach, or if it should be more specialized depending on the market that they're in? So based on strategy.
Yeah, I always believe that the most important marketing is your product and doing a great job of not faking it and being incredibly authentic and being authentic to the community in which you work, live, and serve. And you talk about the differences between those two clubs, and you have to understand those differences and market to them. You can't try to be one or the other. The nice thing that you have there is you have the opportunity for derbies and you know creating a little animosity or friendly competition between the two. But you have to start from a place of authenticity. And if you're trying to build a brand, you're trying to build a business, you have to take that authenticity and apply it consistently over time and try to be as innovative as you can and not try to be an imitation of things that can't come before you. And if you do that, you do it over time, you're going to be successful in building a brand, building connection with the audiences, building connection with your community.
And within that, do you feel that the CPL is really going to take over the digital marketing in sense of digital media, social media, really taking full advantage of that since a lot of the fans are going to Instagram and things like that to really keep up to date on what's going on in CPL?
Yeah, you have to go to where your audience is, and you have to understand your various segments of who it is that you're targeting, and you want to deliver um, engaging content to them where they are. And if you believe that's more of a digital audience, and candidly, when you're talking about a club, that's probably going to reach them the easiest. But you have to know who you're targeting, what messages resonate with them, what messages don't resonate with them. So the beauty of digital marketing is that you can try something and measure it and say, you know what, that engagement didn't work so well. Or you can
Hmm.
try something and say, that engagement was off the charts. How can we build upon something like that? And you get that feedback through digital that you don't get through the traditional media channels.
Mark, we opened the floor to some Forge fans to be able to submit questions. Now, a lot of them were around officiating, and they want better officiating. So I know you're early in your tenure, but when it comes to officials, and maybe, and yeah, if you don't mind answering the questions just about officiating and developing Canadian officials, but also even expanding into instant replay. A lot of fans have been clamoring for that VAR technology and
Mm-hmm.
just more accurate calls on the fields. Again, it's early in your tenure, but have there been discussions about expanding that?
It's way too early for me to talk about that. What I can say is officiating is by far the hardest job in the game. It really is such a challenging job, and I know the fans are probably speaking to Becker's shot that may or may not have gone in, and if we had video review, perhaps might have been ruled a goal. Interesting thing about that is that he hit that ball with such venom. It was so fast. I don't even think any of the players on the field knew whether it was in or out. And obviously the officials didn't. What the real issue is that the board of directors, including the clubs, decided at the beginning of this year not to have VAR. Okay, so we're gonna play a season without VAR, and I believe both coaches took the high road in that game, saying, "Hey, the soccer gods give and the soccer gods take away, and over the course of the season, it all kind of measures out." That being said, we're going to take a hard look in the off season and understand all the technologies available and decide whether we're going to implement any for the following season. But going back to the officials, hardest job in the game, and the beauty of the CPL is it gives them reps that they've never had before, and we're able to, just like we're developing players, we're developing great referees throughout the CPL, and they're developing too. So you can't expect to have a World Cup final FIFA referee every week, but we're giving these opportunities to players and officials, and they're all going to grow up together. And we'll be spending a lot of time on that in the off season.
Another common theme in the fan submitted questions had to do with the availability of the league in more being referred to as mainstream television. So I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're thinking, TSN, Sportsnet, CBC, kind of the bigger names in Canadian sports. One Soccer's done a fine job, but it is subscription based. And so a lot of fans are looking for more accessibility there. I know with One Soccer, it is a contract, so your hands are kind of tied there. But what do you think about the future of this league and how it's delivered through mainstream Canadian media?
Yeah, content distribution is going to be a big discussion amongst the board. Where we are right now with our One Soccer relationship, which we love and cherish, and they've done a great job with us. But I think anybody would look at it and say the broader distribution you have, the better it is. And we've already started those discussions. I can't really give you a lot more than that, other than we recognize that it will be very helpful for the league if we had a broader distribution platform in addition to what we already have, not instead of.
Right. And I want to touch on the future of women's soccer as well. But before we get there, I'm curious about continental competition, such a big part of the sport. CONCACAF, being the body where we are strengthening that relationship from a business standpoint. I mean, what goes into that to have those relationships with the continental governing bodies, which are very important in the overall grand scheme of the sport in this country.
Yeah, I mean, relationships in the sport are really, really important. I'm fortunate that over my career I've developed a lot at the right levels, and I've already started to have some discussions. And we're fortunate that the CONCACAF president and FIFA vice president Victor Montagliani understands this market better than anybody, and is a big supporter of what we're doing. And yeah, we're gonna continue to build those relationships, because when Pacific FC goes down to Costa Rica and plays in that heartbreaking game, it just gives the league a higher profile, credibility, revenue, more exposure, and all the things that go with it. So it really is an important thing to understand and continue building.
Well, in regards to women's soccer, I definitely have a few questions about that. Obviously, as a former soccer player myself and as a woman, there's been a lot of chatter regarding the future of women's soccer in Canada. How do you feel that the CPL will potentially contribute to pro league here in the future, hopefully near future?
Yeah, it's too early. Personally, I'm a huge fan. I'm old enough where my younger sister, actually had to play on boys' teams and kind of force her way into that. So women's soccer has come a really long way. And one of the things for a long time, it was more cause related. We have to support the women. And I think we're getting more to the point, and this is my belief, that um, I think there's a business opportunity with women's soccer, with what's happening around the world. And you look at the crowds at Barcelona, or the women's UEFA tournament, or in San Diego for the NWSL this weekend with 27,000 fans. I look at it as a business opportunity. And like every business opportunity, we need to do the analysis in terms of what is the right way. If we decide to start a Canadian Premier League women's league, we need to make sure that we've got the conditions to be successful. We're still trying to figure out the men's side of things, right? The league's not even 4 years old yet, and we need to make sure that the conditions are necessary for our current teams to be successful, and then at the right time think about, okay, how do we integrate a women's league into that? We're doing it at League One, so we have that from a development standpoint, and I need to understand that better. But I'm excited that we have both men and women in League One, and I'm a big proponent of women's soccer. Uh, Even though my daughters don't play, I've got girls, and I think it would be a great addition to the league if the analysis works and the timing works.
So then, just as a follow up, until that is obviously ready to be in the works, how will the CPL, be promoting the idea of inclusion?
I think we do it pretty well, from what I can tell. Being uh, really early. Whether it's the indigenous communities, we recognize them through uniform designs, through our player and coaching awards. Obviously, we've had Pride weeks and Pride games and things of that nature. And soccer is by far the most inclusive of sports, and we welcome everybody under our big umbrella. We want to give everybody an equal opportunity to participate, be it as a player, be it as a fan, be it as an administrator. We're open to all.
Mark, one of the best parts about attending a live soccer match are those supporter sections and the chants and the cheering and the constant noise. It's like nothing else in sports. What can the league do to foster its relationship with supporters, and maybe even encourage more supporter groups like Forge and the Battalion? And there's examples all over the league. How can the league help kind of facilitate and encourage that?
I think first of all, we see them, right. That we understand how important supporters are. I really enjoyed spending time with your supporters that made the trip to Ottawa. Great group of people who are passionately committed. And we talked about a couple ideas. I mean, one thing that I think we need to do immediately is to recognize the supporter shield for the club that has the most points at the end of the regular season. And the second thing they've talked about is, can we develop some kind of supporters summit that the league participates in? And I think that's something we're going to look at as well. There are a few different ideas germinating right now, but know that you've got a big fan of supporters group, because not only are they, kind of the core of every club, but they create such great atmospheres within the live venue, and the bigger, louder, uh, more visual they get with tifo and things like that, the better off the league is going to be.
All right, now I have to ask you about expansion. I know it's it's early, and you've already there's so much information being thrown at you, and
Yeah.
questions and all kinds of things. But I mean, are there areas of the country though that you think for this league to be viable? Let's say, are there certain areas of the country that it really needs to have a strongholds in?
You're talking to an American who, fortunately, I have a lot of Canadian help, and so, I'm still learning geographically in little pockets in each one of the provinces where, I was talking with your Kasu, your technical director, and he was
Yes,
talking about,
Mirniotis. Yeah.
tell me about, there's a million people in Mississauga, and could you do something there? Or obviously we have a void in the Quebec province, and there are certain areas that are, I think, really ripe for expansion. As I said during my announcement, though, I learned at MLS, if you don't have the right conditions, you will fail. And those conditions are a stadium, a facility, that makes sense for the type of league that we are. You need great ownership. You need local support from the soccer community. You need local support from the corporate community. You need all of these elements lined up before you make a commitment to expanding someplace. Because if you don't have them lined up and they're just kind of promises, they won't happen. You need to have them. So expansion is really important to our league, but we have to expand at the right time in the right places, and you can't force it if the conditions aren't right.
All right, it's exciting that you're on board. I'm sure you're excited, but it's a little daunting. I mean, there's a lot to go over and a lot to do still, but
Yeah,
it's exciting times for the CPL, and you look equally excited, so it's a good sign.
I'm really stoked. I'm all in. We have to get better at everything, but the foundation that's been created, that I am so fortunate to kind of step into, is really solid. And if we stay focused, we do the right things across all the different areas. We're going to look back in 5 years from now. We're not going to recognize this league.
Excellent. All right, Mark. Thanks so much for doing this. You've been busy, so I appreciate you taking the time for us.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
thanks
you
for
so much,
having me,
Mark.
and importantly, thanks to all the Forge supporters, and the players who are leaving out there every day. And I look forward to getting to one of your matches before too long,
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see you at Tim Hortons Field at some point.
for sure.